they say that we can't talk about the current issues without also looking back at the history of what things that happened either a year or years later. Now, in this aspect, I'm talking about the 2022 presidential poll. The Azimio team, which you are a member, lost a race that many had predicted that it would have been a walk in the park for the coalition. What really happened?
You know, we went to court because we believed that our vote was stolen. We heard the same, that our vote was stolen. We have evidence available to us from even whistleblowers of how the numbers were. And we have always said that though the Supreme Court found it one way, and we said we will respect what they said, but we did not agree with their finding. That is not the end of the story. That was the dispute between Raila and William in court.
Yes.
If you want to answer your question without making it look like it is a competition, open the servers. Just open the server. It's that simple.
You believe that the answers are in the server?
Let me tell you.
Yes.
All these shenanigans we have had for the last almost 20 years, 15 years now, about who won, who did not win. Just open the servers. You see the numbers. There. And that's it. So you cannot tell me that I didn't have votes. While we are telling you, ni sawa sawa, prove it by opening. Sufugua isaduku. Na hiyo maneno, kwisha. So for your statement to have any, for the question, your question to be answered in any meaningful manner without having like a contestation.
Yes.
Just insist on them opening the server.
But there are people who say that when Azimio claims that the votes were stolen, there are people who say that you had the president, you had the machinery. They claim that William Ruto appeared to be the opposition.
Let me hold you there.
Yeah.
Is the machinery supposed to be used to steal?
No, but to guard.
No. The machinery is supposed to be used to ensure that there is security in the country, and when transition comes, there is peaceful transition. Uhuru Kenyatta used this machinery for what it is supposed to be used in the constitution. Those who keep saying we had the system and they are now saying they have the system are the thieves. And that's why we are saying
yes,
we don't need the system. You need the servers. Just open the server. Kazi ya kutafuta kura na iko na IBC. You are not supposed to have the machinery so that you steal with it. No, you're supposed to have the machinery to do what it is meant to do. And it's to ensure that there is peaceful functioning of everything and the country continues. So as Jubilee and Uhuru, we succeeded and did what the constitution expected us to do. A credit that has not been given to us by the people who still think that systems should be used to steal and to capture and to do the many things that you hear this regime talking about are the things they want to do with the machinery, because they think that the machinery is there to be misused and to abuse office and of course put Kenyans in more trouble than we are.
Which we have heard from different quarters and also even from Raila Odinga's chief agent that there was a lot of let's say disorganization in the Azimio camp that led to the collapse of some of the structures you had put in place. For example, we were talking about agents who were supposed to man the presidential results, which they claim that the structure were collapsed and it didn't happen, and that is how the loopholes were found. I don't know from where you sit. How are these claims?
Let's even take it that what you have said holds. And we are saying, even with all that you'd want to say that we were not orderly, we did not have what as Azimio and the rest, we are just saying, just open the servers. We will live with the outcome. If it says we did not win, we will then say it is because of our disorganization. Okay. If it means it says we won, then we won with the disorganization. We are just saying, open the server. Na tusemi hata fugua ati tuingie State House. Fugua tu wa Kenya waone.
Hapo kwa IBC.
Yes, hiyo tu kwa IBC. Hakuna maneno mengine. Nothing. You know, we have, and we spend so much money. If Kenyans would understand that all that you need to do after every election is to open the servers and people see who won, who did not win,
yes,
we will even reduce the cost of electioneering in this country. Because we spend a lot of time to guard against your stealing. So if IBC was to ensure that wewe uwe nani ama nani huwezi iba na mwisho tutafungua server tuone vile ilienda, you will stop spending all the money that we spend in looking for readers.
I know there's a phrase you haven't forgotten. Hot air.
Yeah, hot air. Wild goose. We were told a waste of time. Many, there were about 5 or 6 places that are not very useful, not to us, but to the judiciary. They actually, and you can now see Kome is struggling. Justice Kome is struggling with UDA. And I am totally with the judiciary. But that is a black thing that they put within the Supreme Court. But it doesn't stop me from guarding, protecting, defending the independence of the judiciary. Because if we lose it, we have lost the country. If we behaved like William went to Kinangop, my county, na akauliza watu wa huko, tujenge hii koti, walisema tujenge tusijenge hii barabara, tujenge tusijenge. What do you expect Kenyans to say? Jenga. So they say jenga, na pia PS weka pesa, anza kujenga. Sisi pia tuenda Kamkuji tuwauliza wananchi, nani alichida? Ni Azimio ama ni Kenya Kwisha? If they say Azimio, sema twende State House usiende. Twende, then we come. What country do we have? You know, it is just kichwa kidogo tu nitakwambia puguza mehemehe.
Mount Kenya. When we talk about Mount Kenya, it's a very rich voting block to any candidate seeking to be the president of Kenya. And there was a group in Azimio that was tasked. Remember at that time, from opinion polls and political experts had predicted that William Ruto was holding, let's say, like Mount Kenya was his stronghold at that particular point. And some of you were tasked with the job of whiskering away Mount Kenya from William Ruto. According to the election results that were announced by IEBC, it happened very little, not much to change the outcome of the presidential election. So will someone be right or wrong to say that you, Kanini Kega, Martha Karua and others failed to deliver, and Uhuru Kenyatta himself failed to deliver the Mount Kenya voting block to the Azimio candidate?
Let me just paint a picture to you of Mount Kenya. For a continuous almost 10 years, heavily 4 or 5 years, there was the campaigning of Jubilee. There was the campaigning of Uhuru. In fact, there was getting Mount Kenya people to hate their son or one of their own, Uhuru. There was the issue of telling people from Mount Kenya, you are lacking because this person has. The Hasra versus dynasty, the class issue, reawakening some old ghosts that may have haunted the areas immediately after independence. And so Mount Kenya was put in a phase of, it was a phase of not thinking about the leadership, but in a phase of saying, tuachane na watu. Yes, and then of course on top of that, there was now the other phase that was brought, that wewe mama mboga ndio utakuwa mwenye serikali na boda boda, and when you are there, watoto wako watakuwa akichorwa. You know those things that sinachorwa watoto kila Sunday when they go to fun places. Utakuwa ukitembea kwa barabara na watoto wamechorwa fun things kwa sababu ya ile laha tutakuwa ndani yake Kenya hii. So young men and young ladies could see themselves with the kids, wamewachika, wamebeba balloons, wanatembea kwa barabara, everything looking nice, and that kind of life was promised to them. Na vijana wananiuliza juzi, wewe Mheshi, hata kama ni wewe ungekuwa kwa miaka yangu waambiwe hayo mambo tuliambiwa. Alafu mama yangu mwenye ameniambia hii mambo yote akutane na huyo mtu kwa kanisa amebeba Biblia na analia kwa sababu ya vile ameguswa na Mwenyezi Mungu. Ungekosa kumwamini? That's what they are saying. That's what. And you know that is what, you know, William Ruto anashika Biblia analia pale, sijamuona akilia siku hizi. Siku hizi ni kivua. Mupede mzipede. Court orders through the window. Vijana wanasema tusamehe, lakini ujue hata kama ni wewe ungekubali hiyo, sasa tunaelewa ni uongo. I totally agree with them. That's what went through Mount Kenya. It became very difficult for us to even go and talk to people freely because they were actually made hostile towards us. But even with that whole picture, na ujue sasa, kwa sababu uongo ni baya, wale walikuwa naitwa mama boga, wakisema mama boga ndio atakuwa kwa serikali. Sasa mama boga amegundua kubi yeye sasa ndiye boga, ako mezani analiwa. Kila wakati yeye ndiye boga. Asubuhi boga, hakuna mama sana, yeye ndiye amekuwa boga anakuliwa kila asubuhi mchana. But even with all that negative narrative that was sent to Mount Kenya, because the only place William campaigned, 80% of his campaigning was in Mount Kenya. Because of the richness of the vote, we were still able to get Raila votes that are in excess of 2.6 million votes. And that's why we are saying open the servers. Even with all that narrative, the massive leaking that happened 2022 happened in Mount Kenya. Because there was still a silent people, a silent group that could tell between lies and the truth.
Yes.
So after kusema hiyo uongo wote, they went ahead and stole votes in Mount Kenya. And then they are the same people who came quickly with the narrative and saying Uhuru did not deliver. Oh, it was a long con. He's saying if it was a long con, open the server.
A long con.
Let us see what we delivered.
Yes.
The figures that we have today in terms of turnout.
Yeah.
One of the other things that we will need to improve on next time when we want to ensure that we are thorough in the couple of things. I can tell you one of the things that I learned from those, the outcome evaluation is that areas that predominantly were 100% liars, the turnout was lower. The turnout, it is not that they voted for William, but the turnout was not as fanatical as it has been in the past 10, 15 years. If that had happened, this difference of 246,000 that was, they were able to manipulate at bombers, they would have worked for a bigger number.
Okay.
Yes.